Hey guys, Jester here. Today I'm going to be going over the Druids in the World of Greyhawk. Um, there are not a whole lot of modules written um, pertaining to the World of Greyhawk that actually contained Druid player characters. One of the biggest ones was Isle of the Ape, where you had high level characters going on that adventure, pre rolled characters, and one of them was a druid. Um, Other than that, not a whole lot. Um, but the World of Greyhawk, in my opinion, was centered around druidism and druids. Um, Although the majority would be NPCs. Um, Now, in basic through second edition, there's not a whole lot of opportunity for a druid player character to be able to utilize their talents, so to speak. Um, there'll be, um, exceptions to that, but overall, a druid player character is not that popular um, in Greyhawk, in basic through second edition, just because of how long it takes them to get some of their main powers and so forth. Because like you can't even shape change until your ninth level. So so basically, you're up until ninth level. You're just a weak cleric. Um, and being that most of the modules set in World of Greyhawk were dungeon settings, druids' natural powers don't have much effect underground like that. So, but like I said, druidism was center key in the World of Greyhawk. Um, what I've got laid out here, which you can barely see at the moment, is a map of Hommlet. Um, right now, without the buildings except for four. I'll be placing the buildings as I continue this video to just show you the evolution of how Hommlet was built up and the overwhelming druid presence in Hommlet, whether that be actual druids or just people that believed in that faith. Okay, which in the World of Greyhawk, if you followed the druid gods, you would either be following worshiping Beery or Obadiah. And so anyway, there was an article in Earth Journal, and this says it's Volume 2, Number 4, Issue 15. Okay, the title of the article is "The Nature of Druids in the Flannis, the Old Faith" by Paul J. Stormberg. Okay, I'm going to read you a little bit of this to give you an idea of what's going on here, and then we're going to get into the Hommlet map. Okay. I cannot claim this article as entirely mine. The words hereafter are certainly mine, but this article owes its birth to the many discussions and presentations of the Greyhawk community. In particular, Sean Bond's seminal post on the subject, The History of Druids, Greyhawk 1997, first suggested the potential of detailing a druidic hierarchy for the Flannis. His wonderful post provided the outline for a hierarchy that I closely follow. Also presented in his article was the idea of territorial divisions, the origin of the druidical faith among the Flanna, the great NPC druid names, and the versimilar names for each order derived and expanded from those penned by Gary Gygax in the Gord the Rogue novels. I will add to that I also use this hierarchy in my campaign as well. It's very, very detailed, and I like it a lot. Later that year, Niels Bang Osberg provided us with 7 Thustrup's work on the matter, translated from Danish. Specifically, Soren's idea of regional divisions inspired their way into this article. A few months later, Christian Kringstad Kieland posted a detailed description of the roles and levels of responsibility for each circle and order of Druid. Of course, the work of Gary Gygax provided the whole cloth to begin with. The original class description of Druids in Dungeons & Dragons and Advanced Dungeons & Dragons, the Old Faith presented in T1, the Village of Hommlet, the Druidic gods described in the World of Greyhawk fantasy setting, the Archdruidess and her defined territory in WG6 Isle of the Ape, and the vast wealth of Druidic information in the Gord the Rogue novels, the last figuring prominently in the representation of the Flan creation myth and Druidical orders. We'll be getting into the Flan briefly here in a second. This article is as canonical as possible, leaning heavily towards Gary Gygax's first edition version of the World of Greyhawk fantasy setting and the AD&D game. As it stands, this article is as close to Gary Gygax's original vision of Druids in the World of Greyhawk as is possible. And then one more quick thing I'm going to read. It's about the nature of the Druids in the Flannis. From the Greyhawk's setting's earliest days, Druids were identified as a fundamental political force with followers among the agricultural and rural communities, which Village of Hommlet is. In T1, the Village of Hommlet, Jaru Ashstaff was an important leader of the community as well as having high-level political connections with the Viscounty of Verbabank as the Druids of the Gnarly Wood. It is also evident in that same module that fully half of the townsfolk are of the Druidical faith. If Jaru and his community represent the norm of Druidical influence across the Flannis, they represent a powerful political and religious force to be reckoned with. This article explores the role of Druids in the Flannis, clarifying their relationship with the varied nature gods and giving a solid overview of their organization and leaders. Also examined are the Druidic religious beliefs, philosophies, political motivations, duties, and spell-casting ability. Ultimately, this article will clarify the Druids' purpose in Greyhawk and thereby provide Dungeon Masters and players with a distinctive and fascinating organization for their campaigns. So, this article is 18 pages, okay, and it gives you, breaks down the different orders, and gives you actual names of different varying levels of Druids in this hierarchy, most of which came from, or a lot of which came from products like Isle of the Ape or Village of Hommlet, and then just gives you explanation of what each of the like Beery and Obadiah, their followers and everything would be, how to collect mistletoe and all that kind of stuff. In any way, very good article. If you're wanting to have Druids be a heavy influence in your campaign, I highly suggest you picking that up. Again, that is from Earth Journal, Volume 2, Number 4, Issue 15, by Paul J. Stormberg, The Nature of Druids in the Flannis, the Old Faith. All right. So, now I mentioned a second ago that we're going to talk briefly about Flan, and that's where they get the term Flanna from, is the race of humans, the Flan, okay? In minus 2,269 CY, Common Year, the Sul dominated the western half of or west of the Hell Furnaces. The Flan was under the protection of Beery, Palor, and Rayo, and they fled east of the Hell Furnaces. So that's basically in what the playable area in the World of Greyhawk is today. And that was 3 years later. Okay. And then 115 years after that, which was considered 1 in Flan time, which would have been roughly still in the 2000s Common Year, minus 2000s Common Year. They founded the first Flan city in the Lortmill Mountains called Haradarar. I can't pronounce that very well. So, but it's Haradaragh. All right. And then 160 years later, the Flan wizard Galip Dreidel built Inverness. Okay, and so there was also a big thing with the demon lord Fraz Erblu. He was supposedly, because he's the demon of deceit and trickery, he supposedly tricked a whole sect of Druids into basically debasing themselves, and the way they started doing their things turned more towards evil. And basically, if you follow Rob Kuntz's Dark Druids and Plant Master things, basically you could say that that Fraz Erblu created the first Dark Druids. Okay, but anyway, so like I said, you got Druids all over the place in the World of Greyhawk. Okay, so now we're going to transition to this map and the evolution of the Village of Hommlet from its original creation up until after the Temple of Elemental Evil. Okay, so give me a second to adjust my video camera here onto the map, and then we'll get going. All right. I think that's going to be about, got it. All right. So, get my mic over here. Okay, guys. So, basically, you can see that I've got 4 buildings already set up. You've got the deck of cards here. You got the smithy. You've got 2 houses. You can barely see this one here, but you've got 2 houses. What these represent, if you follow the the Village of Hommlet map as it's labeled, these are buildings 7, 8, 12, and 27. Okay, so 7, which is the deck of cards there, was originally a rest house. Later it became the Inn of the Welcome Wench. Okay, then you had building 8, which is the smithy there, and it's what it says, it's the smithy. And then the 2 houses there are locations 12 and 27. 12 was the it says average farm building, lived in Hommlet all their lives. And 27 is a walled manor house, and it's the village elder. Now, of course, he wasn't the village elder right at this point in time. He was just a farmsteader. But in any case, that's the 4 buildings that originated the Village of Hommlet. You just had a smithy, a rest house, and 2 farms. Okay. Now, of course, this is before the Battle of Imrity Meadows. Okay, so this is at the very beginning stages of the birth of the Village of Hommlet. Okay. Now, then the next stage, the Wheel and Wainwright moved into the Village of Hommlet, and he is in location 26. And location 26, so across from the village elder right here, Wheel and Wainwright. Now you'll notice that I've got different colorations here in my houses, blue and red. The blue represent the folks that worship the Druids, and then the red represent those that follow St. Cuthbert. Okay, St. Cuthbert is a god in the World of Greyhawk, and he, if you look at his stats, one of his classes was actually a druid. So St. Cuthbert has huge ties to the Druids, but he isn't a Druid god. So, but he's very popular with rural community type folk, and so you have a heavy presence of St. Cuthbert worshippers in the village of Hommlet, in addition to the Druidical Old Faith worshippers. Okay. All right. Then the next folk to come in is locations 1, 4, and 5. And these are farmers and the herdsmen, and also number 19. Okay. All right, guys. So you have 1, 4, 5, which were all Druid followers, and then 19, which is the herdsman, and he didn't have any faith at all. So he was atheist, I guess you'd say. So that is the next wave of folks. All right. Then the miller moved in and built his place here right at the where the water, the river comes through. So he built his mill right here. And as you can see right now, you've got an overwhelming Druid presence here. Out of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, out of the 8 buildings, not including the rest house and the smithy, 6 of those are already Druid faith. 1 is of no faith, and then the 1 is St. Cuthbert. All right, then the next people that moved in was locations 16 and 18, and they were both Druidical as well. 16 is a small house with nicely painted sign showing painted shield and chest of drawers, and 18 is a typical cottage, an imposing stone building with a barrel hanging from chains. And so, like I said, 16 and 18, that's the cabinet maker, limer, and the brewmeister. And so you got your brewmeister and your cabinet maker, location 16 and 18. Okay, and then you had a cottage come into place, and then your leather worker right across from the rest house. Okay, now at some point in time during all of this, the Battle of Emerity Meadows took place. Okay, so you had during that time a lot of evil forces coming through the countryside, and from the description in the different locations in the village of Hommlet, you will notice that quite a few of the locations here lists the man of the house, his wife having died, and what that, and it doesn't specifically state this, but if you just follow the storyline of this area, you will get the understanding that apparently during the Battle of Emerity Meadows, the menfolk were called to battle, and so as they went out to battle, at one point in the battle, the hordes of evil were turned, and they fled in this direction. And so as they fled through the village of Hommlet, they would have, some of them would have ransacked and killed and that sort of thing. And so my understanding, just based on the general history of the battle and the area, is that the men were gone off at the battle, and as they were gone, the hordes, as they were fleeing, came through the village and looted, killed some folks, including the wives that are listed as being dead in the individual location descriptions. And you can see again, and like I said again, there's an overwhelming still Druid presence here. You've only got the 2 locations that are not listed as having any specific faith, and only one worshiping St. Cuthbert at the time. Okay, Now we'll go ahead and go on to say that at the end of the welcome winch, you've got it says the pot boy number 1 is actually a druid. Okay, it doesn't say anything about the owner Gundagoot and his family, but at least the pot boy, one of his servants, is an actual druid, not just a worshiper, but an actual druid. And so you could turn that one blue as well, and then the smithy. Is the smith is a druid, so that one is definitely blue. So again, out of all the buildings you've got here, only 3 are not either druids or worshippers of druids. And again, so now we've come up to the Temple of Elemental Evil. Okay, so you've got the Temple of Elemental Evil. At that point in time, you still didn't have Rufus and Burns' castle, or built the construction of the castle yet. They haven't moved in, but they will have once the Temple of Elemental Evil takes place, because from my understanding, those two people were actual player characters in the original, and so once they did their thing in the Temple of Elemental Evil, the original version, then that's when they started building their castle and mage tower. But in any case, all right. So at this point, the Temple of Elemental Evil happens. Okay, you still only got this set up right now when the original Temple of Elemental Evil, when Zugdamoy was actually chained, or not chained, but trapped within her own temple, which leads up to the actual module itself. Okay, but again, we're still not at the module. We're just now getting to the original Temple of Elemental Evil, which was basically the Battle of Emerald Meadows was part of that. And so once all that took place, after the hordes came through and then they defeated the temple and locked Zugdamoy in her own temple, then you've got locations 2, 20, and 24 arrive. Okay, so now that you've got all of the evil happenings going on with the temple, the discovery of that, and the Battle of Emerald Meadows, and the fight at the temple itself, those in power in this area, specifically Verbabank and Valuna, they are getting nervous at this point, and so they want to send agents into this little village to just keep a watchful eye out for any activity that might try to revitalize and or free the temple and Zugdamoy. And so you have location 2, which is a cottage, but the significance here is that the folks who own the cottage, they have 2 sons, and their sons is Otis and Elmo, and both are rangers. And Otis Elmo pretends to be stupid, and he's kind of the sleeper agent here in the village, and his brother Otis actually goes and sets up a smithy shop in the nearby town of Nulb. But you've got 2 rangers, and it doesn't say that they're druidical in faith, but I would imagine that they're either worship the druid faith, being that they're rangers, or possibly one of the elven Pathians, but I doubt that. So more than likely they either worship Beery or Obadiah. So that's why I've turned them blue as well. Then you've got the Church of St. Cuthbert. Okay, they arrive, they build their church, and they have set up a watch. The position of this village here is where the church is. It's the highest elevation in the village, and so they set up their church here. That way they can look down upon the village and keep a watchful eye on things there. And then the Druid, Jaru Ashstaff, he finally comes in at this point and sets up his grove there in the village. So this is the first time you actually have an actual Druid presence in the village. Up until now, it's just been farmers and the folks that live here, being that they're in a rural area, they tend to follow the Druid faith, given the agricultural powers that Druids have. And but up until the Temple of Elemental Evil and the Battle of Emery Meadows, you didn't have St. Cuthbert's presence here and the Druid presence physically here in the village. But now you do. All right, so now that you have all of this stuff going on around this little sleepy village, now the sleepy village is no longer that. It is now got a lot of attention drawn to it, and so with activity, you have a lot of people wanting to move here and set up shop for whatever reasons. And you see that in today's society as well. Little places will go unnoticed, and then some big event will happen, and now it's at national attention, and it's like, oh, we didn't know that existed. Let's go find out what's going on. So, that basically it's what you had here. And so you have a huge amount of activity now coming into the village. You've got, let's see here if I can get my mic around this way here. All right, you had the trader right here pop up. You had the jeweler, which is right here. And you had the potter, which is right next door. And then you had the stonemason, which is right here. And then you had a farmer right here. And then at this point in time, the location 27. Oh, and those were locations 13, 15, 17, 21, 23, and 29. Location 27, which was just one of the original 4 buildings, which was the farm, which was located right here, is now, is that the right one? He now became the village elder, because he was, like I said, one of the original inhabitants of the village, and so he is now the village elder, and so he builds larger buildings on his property and to accommodate for that. All right, guys, I had to make a slight adjustment because I originally put the trader in the wrong position. The trader goes right here, so I had to make a slight adjustment there. But in any case, so now you have locations 10, 11, and 14 move into the location, and those are the weaver, the tailor, and the teamster. And locations 10, 11, and 14 you have right here, here, and here. Okay, or might have been there, one of those. All 3 of them worshipers of St. Cuthbert. So now you can see that the demographics as far as religion is starting to change dramatically. Where once you had an overwhelming Druidical population, Now your St. Cuthbert is starting to creep in to almost become equal, and you've got a few more non-faith folks arriving. And the green I've got there because they're evil. The traders are evil, and so they're actually followers of probably Zugdemoy, or at least one of the factions there in the temple. So you can see how one event can change an area dramatically, fairly quickly. All right, and the last person to move into the village of Hommlet prior to the module is the carpenter. Now, originally I had placed the wheel and wainwright right here. That was my mistake. The wheel and wainwright is actually right here. This is where the carpenter is. But in any case, so there you have it. The last grouping of folks to come into the village of Hommlet was overwhelmingly St. Cuthbert. You had, I think, 6 St. Cuthbert folks move in with a couple of non-religion, and then the evil trader, and only a couple of Druidical folks move in. So you can see what the events of the original temple and Battle of Emerdy Meadows had as an effect on the village of. So that's your makeup as you come to the module T1 Village of Hommlet and the map as it looks there. Like I said, you can see how the Village of Hommlet started off very humbly, with just a few establishments, and they all revered the nature gods, and all the way up to the Temple of Elemental Evil and the Battle of Emerdy Meadows. Not a whole lot changed as far as the religion aspect. The town grew, as any small town would have, given the type of traffic, normal traffic that came through there. But things didn't change dramatically until after the Temple of Elemental Evil and the Battle of Emerdy Meadows, and then things, as you can see, escalated quite quickly, and demographically, religion-wise, altered drastically as well. So that's about all I've got to say on the topic for today. I might go into another video, more on Druids in the future. I don't know. If you would like to see that, please leave comments in the comments section and let me know that that's what you would like me to do a video on more. Also, leave comments in the comments section and let me know what you thought about this video. Other than the video I did a couple weeks ago on the battle tactics with the miniatures in the battle map, this is the first kind of thing I've done to this scale. This takes a lot of planning, a lot of editing on my video, because I don't want to bore you guys with me trying to figure out where all these houses go on the map and all that kind of stuff. So I have to stop the video and start it again, so that it's more continuous and flowing. And so I don't know how well my editing skills are. You can let me know that as well in the comments section. But I hope you enjoyed it. I hope this shed some light on the Druid faith in the World of Greyhawk, and on the Village of Hommlet specifically, if you didn't pick up on any of this, or if you've never played the Village of Hommlet, it's a great module. One of my, it's in my top three modules produced by TSR in 2nd edition or earlier, and this is one example right here as to why, and there's many others as to why. And maybe I'll do a video on why Temple or Village of Hommlet is such a great module, kind of like I did on the Keep Borderlands. But in any case, thanks for watching, guys. Make sure you hit that notification bell. Make sure you like and subscribe to my channel, and share with all your friends so that they can enjoy this content as well. I would love to get that subscription rate up. Right now I'm just over 100, so thank you guys for that. But yeah, like to see it creep up towards 1,000. That would be awesome, absolutely awesome. If you want to support this channel, I don't have a Patreon account, but I do have a novel that I wrote. It's titled The Book of Prophecies. It's a fantasy fiction novel, and it covers stuff kind of like this right here. And so if you like Dungeons & Dragons, then you'll definitely like that. So pick up a copy. It comes in hardback, paperback, and ebook formats. You can get all of those on lulu.com and amazon.com. The Kindle version on Amazon is $2.58. That's a great buy. If you choose to get the paperback or hardback, I would ask that you do it via Lulu, because I make a lot more money if you purchase from there than I do if you purchase from Amazon. The links to the hardback, paperback, and ebook formats are in the About section of this channel. You can also go to my Facebook page, James Richmond Author, and find the About section there, and the links are there as well. And you know, while you're at it, just go ahead and go there too. There's a lot more content there that other than what you have here on my video channel. And so anyway, like I said again, thanks for watching, and until next time, and as always, see you soon.